What's up, everybody? It's about that time for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. I'm Kevin Swan, co-host of the show, and the crew are professional people who are also friends that come together to talk about the things you want us to talk about. We talk about it all, and we don't hold back. So come on and join us for another edition of the Crew Radio Show. Welcome to the Crew, everybody, here on WHOV 88.1 FM. But if you're watching us, you're on our social media outlets. We appreciate that. And it's the barbershop one more time.
One more.
And that means it's the fellas. And let me tell y'all, we had a fire barbershop conversation last time. I want to thank y'all again for your transparency. For you, if you missed it, you got to check it out on our social media outlet. Definitely check it out. This is part 2 of a conversation that we've been having about fathers and fatherlessness in society. And Anton and Meech, y'all shared your own personal stories. I want to thank y'all for doing that.
No question. You may, if you're watching, you may have to go get you a couch and lay on that couch and listen to that.
Listen.
With your family.
With your family.
Yeah. So it was real talk. Jason, producer extraordinaire, appreciate you, man. But you know, it's the barbershop. And so last week, we couldn't even start the show because y'all was all up in your arms about Kobe and Mike and Bron.
But you started it.
You did.
As always.
But I want to have a different topic today.
Can we, please?
Can we have...
No disrespect.
Because everybody always talks about them three. Can we talk about the centers? Can we talk about...
Hakeem.
Who is the greatest
What is
centers?
the greatest?
Who are the greatest centers of all time?
Greatest?
You said Hakeem is the greatest?
No.
Okay, just making sure.
Who
I love Hakeem.
I wasn't going to be able to finish this.
Yeah.
Go. Who you got, man?
Bill.
No, I'm younger. Sorry. If it's not Shaq, I'm
No,
sorry.
you need
Y'all
to
outdated.
Nah,
Forget
man.
it. Y'all got
Hakeem
it.
better
Y'all
than
got it.
Shaq, man.
Hakeem way better.
and that's it. I
Hakeem
can't-
school Shaq.
No, that's cool and all.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay.
But how much did his better get him?
It don't matter.
He won chips.
He won. He did win a chip.
Now, Shaq was the most dominant center.
But Hakeem school.
But Shaq had Kobe, too.
If I'm more dominant at a position
Wait a
than
minute,
you,
man. Wait
why-
a
what
minute.
is-
It's a
It's
team
the
sport.
team, bro.
It's a team sport. It's
Come
a
on,
team
man.
Sport.
Come on,
It's a
Beach.
team sport.
Y'all see these numbers?
It's a team sport.
Meech.
It's a team
Shaq
sport.
was dominant.
2.
Nah, Shaq was dominant, but
Head to head.
he won't bet
No.
Hakeem.
Head to head.
He couldn't take
So
Hakeem.
okay, I'll ask the question.
He couldn't take Hakeem.
The most dominant center of all time is. I just want to hear from you.
Shaq.
Cool. So if I'm the most dominant,
That
at
don't
my
mean you the
position,
best.
No, the question was who's the best.
Who is the
what
best center?
You
makes
said who the best.
What makes you better than me
Bill.
if I
That's
dominated
by rings, though.
better than you dominated?
Man,
Bill
nobody
was no joke,
could
though.
guard Hakeem, man.
Or Shaq
And if
because
you
he was
gonna
the
go-
most
if you
dominant.
said
You're hearing the
that's
word
by ring,
dominant,
then
right?
you know what?
What
Then
else
it's
do
gotta be
I don't
Kareem.
agree with that either.
Then it
so.
got to be Kareem.
you got?
Well,
Kareem?
yeah,
gotta
Kareem.
be Kareem.
Who you
No, I
got?
got Hakeem.
I respect that.
I got
Dominant.
Hakeem. I think Hakeem was the best.
Man, his footwork was
So
the greatest
Hakeem was
of anybody
no-
I've ever
At this
seen.
moment, I
and
am
Hakeem
the
could
only
shoot.
one.
The
Hakeem
three.
could
But
shoot
Meech,
threes.
if you go by rings, then it's got to be Bill Russell.
Look, flawlessly.
Right, but
Respect.
You can't go by rings.
If you're going by
But
rings,
we're putting the whole thing in,
if
right?
you're going by stats, you got to
I'm
go
just
by
saying.
Wilt Chamberlain.
I'm not even okay. Let's take the rings out. You said
The best.
the most dominant
Of
at the
his
position.
generation.
But see, I didn't say that. Yes,
He
the most
said the
dominant
best.
ever. The most dominant center ever.
Stenographer, roll that film back. He said the best.
You said the best.
But
You said
my
the GOAT.
question was, I asked them, right? I asked them to answer. Who was the most dominant center of all time? And y'all both said, can we roll the footage? Shaq.
Who y'all?
You both.
No.
It's all right.
Anton
We'll
didn't say that.
We'll run the tape. Ladies
Run
and
that
gentlemen, if you
tape.
could push pause and
Anton didn't
rewind
say that
and listen
Shaq
for it.
is the most
And then when you come
dominant.
back, just know the Meech was
Well,
right.
I mean,
'cause
listen,
he
again,
said it.
The most dominant would probably be either Bill or it's going to be Kareem.
Well, you know,
Now
Shaq
he's
was
changing
physically
the
imposing.
answer.
There's no question about that.
Absolutely.
But Shaq, when he
He was not the
played
best.
Hakeem, even Shaq
He got
said,
schooled.
I can go for that.
even
Yeah, for sure.
Shaq said
I can go for that.
he couldn't guard Hakeem,
He
man.
I can go for that.
schooled.
So
I can go for that.
But do
He
y'all
got
remember
schooled.
when Dennis Rodman guarded Shaq and shut Shaq down?
Yeah, he got schooled.
Yeah,
The
man.
answer
He got
So,
schooled,
yeah.
so you can't say Shaq on that.
All right, we got to move on,
Yeah,
man. We got to move on because this is what happens in the barbershop.
That's not even a debate.
Don't nobody even agree. There's,
that's not even a
there's
debate.
always one, though.
But it's not even a
See, in
debate.
the barbershop, you got the
Shaquille
old
O'Neal.
cast, and then you got the young fella. You know what I'm
Shaquille
saying? There's
O'Neal.
always that young fella that
Getting schooled.
see things
Getting
look
schooled.
different.
Shaquille
But
O'Neal.
Tony, you see this? You can tell that he goes to the Swan's church.
Why?
Because both of them are contrary, just to be contrary.
Just to be contrary.
I guarantee when we cut this thing off, used to be like, man, I don't believe that. Radio. They just
That's my dude.
But hold
Shaquille
on,
O'Neal.
I'm
That's my
glad you
dude.
brought this is we in the box. So, you know, they roasted me a couple of weeks ago.
Ain't nobody roast you,
You
man.
roasted me.
No, I
you
didn't.
roasted me. And I'm like, contrary.
Ain't nobody roast you, man.
That's contrary.
We roasted you, man, because too many people out in these streets like you, man. That's
Well,
what
but
it
why
is.
they can't like me?
How they like
I'm
you,
a
man.
likable person.
I be walking around, they be like, where Ton at on the show?
Can I tell you why they
Nobody
like
wanna
me?
hear about
Can I
Ton.
tell you why they like me?
Why they like
Because they say, Tom, you keep it real. Tom, tell it. Tom, tell it. And they like the way I tell it. They say, you don't play any games. And one lady said, I can't wait till you tell it.
I know. That's wrong. Let's get to this show, man.
I can't wait till you tell it.
We talking about fathers right now.
Okay, we're gonna
man.
talk about fathers.
Yeah, we gotta tell that.
We got to tell
We're
that
gonna
too.
tell
that.
We're
Right?
gonna tell that.
And so last show, y'all got into it. I want to thank y'all again for being transparent. But today, we want to talk about the impact of the next generations and how it's playing out that so many kids who don't have fathers. What are we seeing?
Yeah.
Right? In these schools. What are we seeing in the neighborhoods? And how do we deal with it? So I want to go back again, Tom. I know you normally do research, but let me give you some research. When you do the breakdown of ethnicity, of fatherlessness by ethnicity, so it is believed that 60% of black kids grow up without a father. 7 out of 10 overall black kids, but 6 out of 10 with no father. That number compared to other ethnic groups, 31% for Hispanic kids, 16% for Asian kids, 50% for Native or Indian. So they're the closest to us. 21% for white kids. Let me ask you first of all, Tom, since you in the legals, why do you think that our percentages are so much higher than other ethnic groups?
Tell it.
Now, to me, I think it traces back to slavery. I think that when you can snatch away fathers and daughters and mothers and children and so forth, I believe that inserted that dysfunctionality. And so it broke down the family dynamics then. And you got to remember, during slavery, men were taught to just be basically sperm. You're going to get the woman pregnant, and then whatever happens to that baby, be sold off. And so you never get a chance to be able to be a father to children. And so we talk about a lot of times now, today's culture, today's society, there are some cultures that like to talk about slavery as if it was a good thing, or slavery was, people have made that statement. What I'm gonna leave that
slavery
alone.
is a choice. That's what he said.
It was a choice.
That's
Yes,
what he said.
that's what the
That's
bum
what he
said.
said.
It's trifling stuff. But I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna digress. But when you're taught that it's okay not to take responsibility and care for what you bring into the world, that doesn't just stop because you have the Emancipation Proclamation.
Agree.
That continues into the next generation.
However, in the 50s and 60s, and you know this, civil rights era, there was a high rate of two-parent households within the African-American community. Something happened in the 70s and 80s where it began.
Controversy. You want me to go there?
I mean,
Controversy.
I'm asking you, why do you think the percentages are high?
If you talk to some of the older seniors in our community, they would say integration.
Yeah.
Controversy. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Well, a lot of people say that.
Because some of y'all shaking your heads right now. See, Tom's the one. See, that's why they like me. Because Tom gonna say
the truth.
I'm gonna tell it. They say integration.
Especially from an education standpoint. People would say
absolutely.
that our kids lost the value of education once integration took place.
Absolutely.
So yeah, we make that argument.
Yeah. We lost our moral compass.
Okay. That's
and
fair.
when we lost our moral compass and the church no longer began to be the center of the family, of the community, then we went our own ways.
Meech, what you think, man? Looking at these stats, it's by far our community that has the highest rates of fatherlessness of any ethnic group. What do you think, man?
So I agree with what you said. There's slavery ties to all of that, but I honestly believe that those people at the top want it to be like this. I think when it comes to drugs being put into our neighborhoods, when it comes to the type of stuff that they make public for black kids, like whether it's the music, whether it's the TV shows, all of it highlights a destructive version of black men. Whether it's the drug dealing shows, like all of our shows are drug dealing shows, all of them. The music that is popularized is males are wild, tripping, tweaking, having sex with however many girls, could care less if they get pregnant. So there's no, in a sense, example of it. And if those people with the money can pay for what goes out, what we're exposed to, then if they're going to keep putting this out there, then that means that's what they want us to be. That's what they want these kids to see. And if that's what they want, then it's causing the issues that it's causing. So I fully believe it's like that because that's what they want.
And to that point, that would be similar to what Sia would say. It's part systems
the system.
and structures that
No
are in
question.
place.
But then can we take some accountability? Because social media promotes this foolishness. And, for instance, in my JCAP program, I had a kid in there who ended up getting booted because of behavior. But on his father's side, he had 23 siblings. On his mom's side, he had 12 siblings. And all these different baby mamas. And so, and neither one of them is raising him, by the way. He's raised in foster care because of the abuse and the neglect that took place. And so when you have social media promoting people having an abundance of kids with 10 or 11 baby mamas, there's no way you can be present in the moment in the lives of all those kids and all those different households.
Sure.
And they're making statements like, well, as long as he can pay for it. Well, he won't even work in a pie shop.
He's talking about NBA YoungBoy, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to put that out there.
Come on.
That's what he's talking about.
He
But
won't
not
even work
even
in a
him. Let's
pie
talk about-
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's talk about Nick Cannon, right?
Nick Cannon, yeah.
Does your generation and younger, do they view NBA YoungBoy and Nick Cannon as being fathers because they can economically provide?
I've had legit arguments with kids. He takes care of his kids. And I'm just like, how do you know? You see it. I said, so the edited, specific, intentional picture that you get of him holding the child lets you know he takes care of it. How does he take care of all of them? And then they get stuck. But based off of perception, because you mentioned that last episode, that's what they think. So they will argue it because they think that.
And they like people like Future, who we know got a whole bunch of baby mamas, won't take care of any of them, and would make statements like grown men making statements on social media saying, I would rather my daughter date Future than to date Russell because he is a cornball,
right,
or he's corny, or he's nerdy. Then the man is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Partly owns a soccer team and will be a Hall of Famer one day. But he's corny. But all he talks about is, I love my God, I love my wife, I love my kids.
And to that point that Meech raised last episode, could that be the lack of example or the weirdness that sometimes
it's what they get exposed to? They are going to want to be what they're exposed to, and what people with the money, systemic or not, what they're exposed to is some nonsense. It's a bad example of what we should be, but similar to what Jay said last time, weird is normal now. So to them, that's normal. To have a bunch of shorties and a bunch of babies and all that is normal because that's what the people they see have.
So again, to answer the question, they see NBA YoungBoy and Nick Cannon as being appropriate fathers, even though they fathering many different baby mamas.
I doubt a kid would flat out be like, oh yeah, that's the role model, but they're not going to let you say that they're not a good example of it. So it's not like they're saying that's the positive, but they're not seeing it as the negative.
Because at least he around.
Yeah, he has money. So if he has money, they buying him stuff.
Yeah, okay. All right. So look, we want to give you and Jason the floor today because, one thing Meech, for those people who don't know, you're a youth pastor here at the church. You're doing an incredible job.
Appreciate it.
But also, you dedicate your time, because you don't even have to do this, going into the schools.
Absolutely.
Substitute teaching.
Absolutely. Community centers, all of that.
Why?
We here.
I mean, most people would say, look, why do you feel the need to do it?
Because it's needed. It is absolutely insanely needed, and I learned a long time ago what one person's impact could do. Mm-hmm. So if I'm gonna be that one, I'm gonna be. Hopefully, I inspire somebody else to do it too, which I think I may have. But I know for a fact the difference I can make. So since I know it, I'm good off of not doing it. Like, when I'm gonna just not do it, then that's a problem. So I have to. I feel like I have to. It is my calling to do so. So I'm gonna show up.
And I'm gonna publicly thank you because, fellas, the way we met was he was my son Cole's AAU coach,
That was
Okay.
and
ironic, right?
watching my son interact with him, and the impact that he had from being on the team. That's how we met.
Facts.
And I was like, man, what you have done for my son, I know you could do for a lot more kids. And that's how we ended up here. But I want to be real on this show, man. And so Jason meets y'all in the schools. Y'all see these kids on a regular. Describe for the person who ain't in these schools.
We both shaking our head.
We don't get canceled.
From no, man. I mean, because
okay
the
with
show is about fatherlessness, right?
Yeah.
So, how do you see fatherlessness
Jesus.
play out in what you're seeing in the schools on a consistent basis, Meech?
You go ahead first.
You said something last episode where you said we don't want to blame all of our societal problems on that. I will honestly say that the lack of fathers is the biggest issue that is dealing with all of the stuff going on in the schools and the kids. I think that is the number one above everything issue that's going on.
Let me be clear now.
Yeah.
It's number one. It's not the only.
No, it's not. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's number
All right.
one. And I think because it trickles down to so many other things. The stuff you see in schools is a lack of identity, people trying to do things to fill voids and gaps, lack of respect for authority, because it's like, and I think I said this to a kid before, like when it comes to moms, I think everybody probably, especially black families, you'll have a tough mom. She don't play. But at the end of the day, it's something in a female's nature to be like, I don't play with you, but I still love you. I want to hold you, all this other stuff. Like, I still want to nurture you. So even when I'm pissed at you, I want to nurture you. You feel me?
Yep.
A father, I'm gonna lay down the law, and I'm going to wait till you tighten up and show me you need to get right. Like,
Right.
I'm going to set the bar and the standard, and I'm not coming down to, oh, no, it's okay. No. You're going to be hungry until you figure it out. Like, honestly, I'm going to starve you of certain things that I know you want, because I'm not just waiting for you to smile and waiting for you to grow up. And because certain kids don't have that, they don't respect authority that requires that. So you have kids that'll lash out for people that are set the bar in the line because they don't respect when you do it, especially if it comes from a man. You'll see kids in schools, they'll love the female teachers. They hug them all that, that's my mama. But it takes special male teachers in the schools for them to be like, oh, I rock with you. And like you said, they will. They'll call you their dad, they'll call you their uncle, but it's few and far between. So there's a lack of authority and understanding of identity in the schools. It's bad, man.
So in that, you go in, and a lot of the kids that actually even come here, you have gotten because of your interactions in the schools.
Facts.
So it's you have something, a gift, something that connects you to these kids that even teachers and administrators, and you see that too.
Yeah.
You know how many in there for the check,
For sure.
right?
No question.
So what have you done? What have you figured out that connects you with these kids that they're so drawn to you?
So one, not to take credit from God, I do believe that God has, like you say in the Bible, where it's like, I give you favor with men. I believe God has given me favor with young people. I really fully do. But at the same time, it is, see, some people, they'll just be the teacher, or they'll just be the sub, or they'll just be the coach. I'll look at a kid and I'll be part of what you need until you realize that you need it. So while, yes, I'm your substitute teacher, but that's not all you need. So I'm looking at you like, you need someone to actually care about you. So I could just sit here and pass out a piece of paper, or I can go talk to you because you actually feel some type of way. So let me go rock with you a little bit. You need someone who's older than you, cooler than you, to kind of affirm you. Let me go affirm this little dude real quick. And now he looking at me like, oh, he rock with me? Oh, yeah, I must be somebody because he wearing J's, he cool. Oh, yeah, so I'm somebody now. So now I've affirmed the young dude. So now when I come back to him, there's some type of rapport there so I can tell him what to do now. You get what I'm saying? Or I'll dap up a kid and not just like, all right, how you doing? But I'm going to dap him up like we really friends or family or something like that. And it's just different. Like there's a connection. Even that just dapping, that physical touch, that means something to kids. So it's not just being what the job says I'm supposed to be. So I understand that there's boundaries and lines that we're supposed to cross, but I fully believe I'm sent by God. So if I'm supposed to be there, not just to be a substitute teacher, but I see that there's a need, there's someone who has to care for them and show them how to care. There's someone who could look at a young lady and be like, no, you don't got to act like that. It's okay. No, you're beautiful today, but just relax. They need some of that, even if it's just small doses. So doing that, it kind of breaks the wall a little bit. It's tough sometimes, but it tears down walls.
But in it going into a classroom, you don't know what kind of kids you're going to get, right?
No, not at all.
There's classroom management and all that
sure.
kind of stuff. There's a lesson that still has to be done.
All of it has to happen.
So how do you manage all of that while still trying to impact the kids individually?
You try to impact while doing all of it. You don't separate it. You do it all. So if there's a lesson that needs to go out, and mind you, just to put it out there, a lot of these kids are way far behind academically. Way too far behind. And it's insane what we're going through right now. But if, let's say, I'll see myself uncle, big brother, father. Like those are kind of the tiers that I know I could play in a kid's life. So if I'm a big brother to somebody and I see them struggling or they don't know what they're doing is wrong, big brothers give game, you feel me? They try to put you on, they try to help you. So, yeah, I got an assignment to pass out, but I got some game to give you. Hey, listen, I know you don't want to do this work, but whole time, you do this in like 20, 25 minutes, bro, you done. We on the phone. I ain't tripping. Like, it's easy. I know they don't want you on your phones, but you finish the work, bro, it's easy. We good. We on the phone. So now it's like, oh, you cool about it. So, yeah, there's an assignment I got to give out. Yeah, there's work to be done. But as a big brother, I'm not going to just stand here and be like, all right, no. Phones down, stand here, sit there quietly and be like that's weird. So it's kind of merging the roles so that way I can get the best out of both.
Jay, what you think, man? I mean, you seeing this all day, every day, man. It seems like that approach is connecting with the kids, and it doesn't seem like all teachers connect with the kids. Mm-hmm. What you see going on, man?
Well, me and Meech are in two different worlds. With him being a teacher and me being a counselor, I'm looked at as pseudo admin, and I'm also a black man. So I'm not only just called for the SEL type stuff. I'm called if somebody punched somebody in the face. I'm like, that's the principal. You come get that. But because I know, like me said, you build that rapport. A lot of these kids, they don't eat. They don't have clean clothes. They don't have the supplies. They don't have someone to say, hey, good morning, how you doing?
Thanks.
Like making that eye contact and saying good morning. We take that for granted, but we in a society that we on phones. You go to the lunch table, they not talking to each other. They're on the phone texting, like having a whole conversation, but they just texting each other.
Social
Like
media,
this is stupid. Yeah. Like you could have those, and they can't spell. They can't spell. They can't write, and they can't read. And you look at these text messages, IDK, IDC. All these acronyms, and like when it's time to spell and it's time to do SOL, they struggling.
That's rough, man.
So now you gotta find out what's going on, and a lot of them are frustrated, they're angry. Not even talk about the fathers yet, but just you have to find that bridge.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers get angry with me because my thing is this: when you out of the classroom, you're missing instruction.
Facts.
You're missing the seat work. So when I get you. You got 10 minutes, tops, and you going back to class. The teacher's like, why don't you keep them for an hour? Why don't you keep them for the whole day? I'm not a babysitter. I got 2 kids. One is at Phoebus and one is at private school. These not my biological kids or even my indoctrinated kids. Mm-hmm. So I got to get them back to finish the job that they were sitting here to do because, again, the longer they with me, the more they missing out. And then when they get back, they're even more frustrated. Now they causing a disturbance. Yeah. So we have to toe a fine line where when kids see me, they don't see discipline because I don't administer discipline. When they see me, they know he gonna help me. If I'm struggling, he got me. If I need something to eat, he gonna make sure I eat. If something's going on, because again, like Anton said, a lot of stuff. I think you said it that you can do all these great programs, but they go home gonna win. Yep. So we gotta find different agencies and community partners to link these parents up. They don't have running water, don't have power, don't have food. They live in food deserts. Man. We talk about fathers. Man. There's so much more. The fathers are important because they bring that stability and they bring that structure. But then you talk about all these other things and other factors that these parents, the mothers, sometimes grandmothers like 60 and 70 and sometimes 80 years old with a 7-year-old. They don't have the capacity to deal with this child. Yeah. Now this child comes to school. Now we got to work with them, but we only have them for 7.5 hours. They're going back home for the rest of the time. And then that don't forget about medication management. Don't forget about diagnoses: ADHD, ODD, ADD, bipolar, schizophrenia.
All of it.
You got all these things, and then let's dive into the father. The father's not there because at the end of the day, father's speaking to these kids.
Yeah.
They tell them. When you look at the football fields, that's when you see you see the fathers. They out there say, "My boy gonna do this," but it's time to PTA meetings. You don't see them. They don't even know how to spell PTA.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that we struggle with as educators and professionals. We want, hey, I'm glad that they out there playing Pop Warner. I'm glad they out there with Meach with AAU ball. But yo, put the ball down.
Facts.
Come meet the teacher, and not to holler at the teacher and get in her drawers. Meet the teacher, know what's going on,
Be honest
learn this
today.
new math. Because these kids don't know this new math. Learning this stuff. So now, like my daughter, when she was at Barron, they knew me. They knew. I didn't even have to ring the doorbell. As soon as they saw me on the camera, come on in, Mr. Covington. My wife was a cheerleading coach. They called me Coach Dad because I made sure that I was present to make sure, number one, I cover my wife, and then make sure that these girls, because they ain't have fathers. So you got the girls that are more physically developed, don't know how to carry themselves. Stuff is showing. And I don't say nothing to them. Say, hey, babe, you need to have this conversation with her. Yeah. And then they see me how I deal with Layla and how I acclimate with Michelle, and they were like, they want the same thing.
Yeah,
so it's a whole lot, man.
It's that example piece. And so let me ask you both real quick before I get on to my next question. Ton, I bring you in. Both of y'all are in the school system. The governor just issued a law going into this year about cell phone use in schools. Realistically speaking,
we can move on. We don't have to talk about it.
How do you think that's gonna play out?
It's not gonna happen.
It's not, man.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not, and that's not about. As an educator, you have crosses you want to die on and hills you want to die on.
That ain't
a cell phone.
That ain't one.
As long as you're not sending child porn, like you can be on your phone with earbuds, all that kind of stuff. Just don't be a distraction. I'm not fighting that.
So y'all are not even gonna attempt.
I told you, I'm in the classroom. Get your work done. I'm letting you get on your phone. I will. I'm honest with it. I've told administrators all that. Oh, they listen to you. That's because I'm not fighting them on stuff that doesn't need to be fought. Get that worksheet done. That if you know you getting your phone afterward, they work a little different. Like there's no treat at the end. There's no carrot at the end of the stick for these kids. It's just sit here, work, sit here, work, sit here, work. Can't talk, bro. That's a hard thing to do with, especially with all the stuff that they're already behind on. Let them have the phone afterward. I get not being on the phone while we teach and all that. I get that because they do got to learn. But if they know they can get it afterward, they give you a little bit.
Because here's the thing: the teacher's on the phone the whole time while they teach.
Bro, come on, man.
They on FaceTime.
Come on, bro.
And they talking to who they want to talk to. So you can't be a teacher telling the student to get off the phone, and you got your phone, and you talking to your boo, or you doing stuff, or you playing Candy Crush, or all the other.
There's
kind of
no
stuff.
adult that can sit there and do what we're telling the kids to do.
This is why your docket full.
There's no adult that can sit there and do
hear
that.
all this, man?
That's insane.
Yeah,
This is why your docket is full.
Because I'm telling you right now, as they're talking, I'm saying to myself, so you can't sit there all day and just do your work and not be on your phone.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Then that's a problem.
You think so?
The attention spans of these kids?
You think so?
Yeah, that's a problem. Can I tell you why that's a problem? That's a problem because then you want to come work for me and you can't stay off your phone and I fire you.
I can't lie. I disagree. I fully disagree.
I fire people.
And maybe just for that job, but there's other jobs.
But I pay well.
But that.
But see, here's the thing.
But the kids get more money on YouTube now, don't they?
Now, if you try,
If they work hard,
That's a fact.
No, I fire you if you on your phone and you're supposed to be getting work done. I have fired people for being on their phone when they were supposed to be working because the government is not supposed to be paying you to be on your phone watching whatever you're watching a movie, watching YouTube or whatever. You're being paid so that you can be a public servant. So I'm being held accountable for that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to pay you taxpayers' dollars so that you can be on your phone. Not happening. And I have fired people for that.
you keep looking at me like
No.
I'm talking about the kids.
That's an okay expectation for a grown person.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
But a child?
You teach them the patterns of life. Just like the authority piece. Mm-hmm. If you can't respect authority in the home, you're not going to respect authority in the school. And if you can't learn discipline at a young age, I promise you, that's why I see them. I see people because they are only repeating patterns of behavior that they learned as kids. You didn't wake up one morning and decide to carjack somebody.
No, I got you.
You didn't wake up one morning and decide to pull out a gun and go shoot somebody because you got angry with them because they stepped on your shoes. You had anger issues when you were younger, and you didn't address your anger issues, and you didn't learn conflict resolution in a positive manner. So as a result of that, guess what? You kind of come see me. And when you use a gun, you don't get treated as a kid. You get treated as an adult. You go to DOC.
But in this case, and I understand your world, most parents, when they're trying to get their kids to be quiet or just not be bothered, they're going to give them a tablet and a phone.
So
and they're going to sit there and be quiet.
It's not these kids' fault.
Right. And then now you're going to be in the schools and they're going to be like, try to take the phone away.
And that's why you're going to have kids that's Asian, that's outpacing us.
No question.
And that are
That's already
making
happening.
that sick. Oh, yeah, you know why? Because they ain't getting no phone. What's happening is they're learning all that stuff at a young age, and they're going to be competitive, and they're going to outpace us.
But see,
and
that's
so we
the
want to
issue,
wonder.
though. Because okay, so you're saying I get a kid who, for let's say we both dealing with middle school heavily, right? So for the first 10 years, 13 years of their lives, they've been able to have this screen in front of them that has silenced all the loud and all. Like, that's where their attention goes.
That's their world.
They've been raised to do so. Then we get them in a classroom and expect them to be without something that they were raised to be.
Hey, we're halfway through the show. Big shout out to everyone tuning in. Thank you all so much. If you're loving the content, consider supporting us by becoming a sponsor. Just contact us via email at thecrewradioshow757@gmail.com. Now stick around, we've got even more good stuff coming your way.
One, that's not their fault. That is not their fault. So in all honesty, for the mind of a kid to literally snatch something that's been giving them dopamine feelings and all, to snatch that away and say, sit here quietly, don't talk to your friends, go to the bathroom maybe twice a day, just sit here, listen to me talk. I expect you to be able to do that, and I'm mad when you can't do that? No, that makes no sense to really get the job done.
But the reason why he's looking at you like that is because the generations have failed us.
Yeah, no,
because when
I
I
get
was
that.
in school, we didn't have tablets and phones.
I'ma go deeper
and we
than
have
that.
access to it.
That's what I'm saying,
I'ma go
but it
deeper
don't
than
make
that.
sense for this.
I'm going to go deeper than that. Here's the thing. May not be their fault, but that's their reality. And I'm going to tell you this. If we don't teach them their reality early on, what's going to happen, you're going to have someone that's like the 16-year-old kid who got his PlayStation taken away from him, and he stomped his assistant teacher on the ground, and he got multiple years of prison time because someone didn't teach him young about controlling that rage and that anger. And so what happened is his reality became prison.
But see, that we got to figure out, do we want them to understand how it should be, or figure out a way to get solutions so we can get back up there? I can look at a kid and say, yes, you should absolutely be able to do that to compete with China and all that other stuff. Yes, you should be able to, but you can't. So where can we get to? You're here, you need to be up here. How do I move the needle, or do I just get mad at you that you're not up here? Do I treat you like you should be right up here? That's why these teachers are failing. That's why it's like that, because no one has figured out how do I move the needle instead of try to force the needle all the way to the top. You can't.
Well, let me ask you this.
No, hold on. I got to respond to that. So basically, So basically, what you're saying is we need to do X, Y, Z. I get that. I don't disagree with what you're saying. But what I'm saying to you is, who gonna care enough to do all of that? And so right now, that's you. But the average
needs to be
teacher,
more.
why do you think there's mass incarceration?
Yeah,
Why
it
do you
needs to
think
be
there's
more.
a pipeline between the school and the prison? They call it that for a
Yes,
reason.
we know.
Because they're not going to be a whole bunch of you that's going to be doing that. There's going to be a
So
whole bunch of
what's
others.
the problem?
The problem is there's a whole bunch of others who are not going to leave the industry
what
of
do we
teaching.
need to fix? We need to fix the teachers
not
and the
doing
way
it.
we do
They're
it.
not
That's
doing
my
it.
point. We need
They're
to
not
fix the
doing it.
way we do it. We're mad at the kids. The kids get punished, all this other stuff. But the people we need to address are the ones who can do something about it.
How
so
can you
it's not
do
hard.
that?
No, you can't. It's not hard to tell a teacher, listen, we know we don't want them on their phones, but here's what you are allowed to do as a rule for your classroom. Let them know the first 30, 40, or even
not doing
50. This is the work, and then afterward, let them have their phones. You will see a difference. It's not that
They're
big a deal.
not doing it, and I'm gonna tell you why they're not going to do it, because something like that is already politicized to begin with. And so you may have something like that done in maybe a Hampton, a Newport News, or a Norfolk, but you get to a York County or a Williamsburg, or you get to a Virginia Beach, or you get into the western part of the state, they're not going to do that. They're going to say, get off that phone. And if you don't get off that phone, school, pipeline, prison.
So
But
once
in
again,
most of those cases,
failing kids.
right? So let me ask you.
I'm just telling you what the reality of it is.
Because one thing you
Failing.
did say, this is good, because this is barbershop, right?
Yeah,
Because one thing you did say is generation, and that's the part I want to talk about for the remainder of the show. See, Todd and I are on the other side of 50.
Yeah, but
Right?
but even though y'all on the other side of 50.
But hold on, because y'all are younger, right? So it could be that y'all see things a little bit differently, or maybe, you don't see it how we see it. I'm curious to know, as we start this how do the younger generations, your age and younger, feel, or what they think about men our age? How do they really feel?
This generation now is soft. They just soft. They don't like. I think my generation is the last standing guard of what y'all had and before.
It's the hybrid.
Yeah, it's so weird because even and we've had this conversation off air. Even the way I parent with Michelle, like it doesn't bother her that the kids ask why when we tell them to go do something. When I was brought up, I don't care if it was a good explanation to it, and the cognitive and autonomy and lifespan and development.
I'm mad right now that you.
We couldn't say.
That's the difference, though, Tom. We got to listen to this.
But that is, and we had to sit down and had to come to, like, we would argue, like, babe, Layla can ask me why, and I'm like, I said, go sit down. Why? And then Michelle looked at me. And I'm like,
see, and we've had this conversation in church, right?
Yeah.
I've explained generational differences, right? Because to Meech's point, the younger generation question authority, right? So we didn't have the privilege of asking our parents why. You've been that age,
you
right?
got one time,
Right.
And you learn,
right? And so for us, we get pressure up. Your pressure up right now, right?
It's up right now.
Because it couldn't happen to you. Couldn't do it. So
And my kid ain't gonna do it.
correct.
Okay.
But they are asking not because they're trying to necessarily question authority. Sometimes they may. They're asking because they genuinely want to know. But we weren't afforded that same right to ask the question.
There is a way to communicate your desires and your wants. And so
Why ain't the answer?
Why is not the answer.
For us.
Yes. And so
But they don't understand that. That's what I'm
here's
saying,
the thing.
Tom.
But that comes with communication. You have to see the one thing about their generation and younger is they want to discipline the kid without explaining to them first what the standard is and why this is the thing that I'm asking you to do. So for instance, I taught my kid at an early age obedience the first time. And I taught him that not because I'm trying to be a dictator, but I said, son, one day you may be in a situation where I may not have the luxury of repeating myself, and it could potentially save your life. So I need you to be obedient the first time. You're going to have to trust me and trust our relationship and know that I care about you enough that I'm not going to ask you something that's going to harm you or ask you something that's going to be detrimental to you. And so I taught him that at a young age, obedience the first time, because he could be on the edge of a street and about to walk over, and if I call and say stop and he keep going because he's used to me having to say it to him multiple times, he could be dead in the street because he got hit by a car. But we don't teach those things. We just want to beat them because they acting out, or we want to beat them because they're doing something because it embarrassed us in public. And it doesn't work that way. You have to first teach your child. You have to communicate with your child. You have to make sure they first of all understand you love them them and that you're coming from a good place, that you want the best for them. When you teach them those things and then they break that standard of care, then it can be some type of accountability. It doesn't always have to be a spanking, but accountability, even with the legal system. Accountability doesn't always mean prison. Accountability means I am giving you a consequence for the choice that you made. Hopefully, this choice will steer you in the right direction that you won't repeat that choice again. Now, depending on what you did, that accountability can be harsher or more severe. However, the purpose of the accountability is to say that is not allowed. I want you to do better. You're capable of doing better. You will get another opportunity to do better depending on what you did. However, the accountability shouldn't be so soft that you disregard it because it did nothing to you. It had no impact on you. And when accountability is that's when you create soft ones. That's when you create weak ones. That's when you create ones that don't respect authority, don't care nothing about authority, and will break the law. And those people turn into sociopaths. We create sociopaths. Sociopaths are not born. Sociopaths are created out of trauma.
So I'm going to ask you, if you believe that this generation and younger are creating a sociopath, because I said this to our church the other day, this would be, how old are you?
35.
So he would be my kid.
Mm-hmm.
He would be your kid.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm trying to make is, while we are trying to say, Lord, have mercy at them and their generation, we the ones that need to look in the mirror, because we the ones that's supposed to be doing all the stuff that you just described. And we ain't do it.
Correct.
We ain't do it.
When you talking about our generation as a whole, no, we did not.
We did not do it.
As
so
a whole,
why then is our generation so up in arms about their generation?
Because the average person that's typically up in arms probably did it in their household.
And that's the thing, because when they were younger and it was cute, they got away with it.
No. I'm talking about they did it in their household, as far as they probably held people in their household accountable, but not necessarily people in their neighborhood or people in their community.
No, somewhere along the line, our generation dropped the ball, and that's the part that we don't want to admit. Right?
So are you saying this?
I think I can answer that question.
The people who are saying Lord have mercy failed in their home as well?
No. I think what broke it is what you let in. I think your generation let in things that ended up breaking it. And even partly my generation. Like, social media breaks that. When a kid, you could tell a kid what to do. Let's say at y'all age. Did you have internet to go look up an answer when your mom told you this, that, and the third? Or mom said this is that, but I can go look that up and be like, nah, mom bugging for real. Or they said, well, this is the way you gotta do it. But then I can go on social media and see somebody doing something way different, way better, and getting way more money. So I've been exposed to a different way of doing things. So now when you tell me I have to do it like this, I'm like, why? Case in point, school system, jobs, all the other stuff. You just mentioned you got a job for them that makes a lot of money. Any kid I work with can look at you and name 7 jobs that will pay way more than what you got for them, that will allow them to play video games, millionaires playing video games, YouTubers, influencers, all this other stuff. And that's what they're exposed to. So now why I got to do what you say isn't just because I don't respect authority. It's also because, well, that's your route, but I see this route over here that can give me what I really want. I can do it the way I want to do it, and probably more money.
So you know what my answer to that is? Get to stepping.
Cool. But in that, we can't do that in schools, because now we have to figure out how to get them through this foundational part, but they're still exposed to all this other stuff. So the way we do school has not changed, minus the tablets and all the other stuff. It hasn't really, really changed. But we just added some other features of electronics. So we keep this the same, but then what they're able to do is completely different.
But here's the problem with that. How many kids are actually going to grow up who desire to do that, that's going to actually make that type of money, that's going to actually have that opportunity to have those hundreds of thousands of followers so that they can get those ads and get that money that comes from the advertiser? It's not going to be everybody doing that.
Yeah, we don't know. It's the same for all of that stuff.
It's not going to be a whole bunch of people that's doing that. It's
Correct.
going to be a select number, a finite number of individuals that's going to get that opportunity to do that.
That's for anything.
So but here's the problem with that. If everybody is saying that's what I want to do because that's what social media is teaching me, it's the popular thing to do, and we know only a finite number of individuals are going to be able to do that, like being an NBA superstar
Correct.
or being a football player, on a finite number of individuals that's going to get that opportunity. What's going to happen to the rest of them that has spent all of their childhood or their teen years trying to build up to get that,
Facts.
and because of the behavior patterns that they develop, bad behavior patterns for a 9 to 5, great behavior patterns if you get the opportunity to do those things.
For sure.
But if you don't get the opportunity to do those things, you're not going to survive in a 9 to 5. What happens to that kid?
No, we're not disagreeing.
What he's saying is that don't matter to them because, for example,
So what's going to happen to them then?
you got a lot of kids instead of NBA, they're trying to be porn stars.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
But what's going to happen to them?
OnlyFans.
But what's
It's
going to
all-
happen to them?
Whatever happens to him. What happens to the player who don't make it to the league?
I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. What's gonna
It's
happen
the same
is
thing.
if they don't learn another way,
Correct.
another trade or another career path, somehow, some way, they may end up coming to see me.
We don't disagree with that.
We don't disagree, but what they're saying is just like the player who only sees their way out of the hood by going pro. You got girls who the only way they see themselves successful now is doing porn. It's the same principle. And when we say to them, this is why we got to listen to them. When we say to them, nah, you got to go to school, get your education. What me just saying is, yeah, I can do that. But at the same time, I can make this money over here because I see success over here, just like the little kid. Because you go in a classroom time now. You ask what you want to be when you grow up. All the black kids are going to say they want to play professional sports.
Man,
that's what it is.
I just had 45 kids in my JCAP program, and there were 2 that said they wanted to play professional sports. The rest of them had a particular career path that they wanted to go through.
They're the exceptions to the
45
rule.
amongst thousands.
That the exception to the rule.
But hold on. That was one cohort. The cohort I had the last time, it was, again, about 1 or 2 other students out of about 47 kids.
The kids we talking about don't get to that.
But I also think we also the original thought of the show as far as fathers have lost their influence in the house. Like when I was coming up, my dad said what it was. I played ball, but when it was time for revival, I had to leave practice at 7:15 to get to church at 7:30. When it was time to study, my dad said, "Yo, if you don't have this work done and it's and it's not right now, you not just done, but it's 100% correct.
For sure,
you couldn't play. When it was time to do book reports, you gonna do the research, you gonna figure it out." That was my dad talking.
Facts.
My mom was just there as a nurturer and as support, but my dad put down what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. Now, so the father in the home has lost the influence over his kids. Like what me said, it's hard to combat social media and the internet. Even with my daughter, we can tell she can say, "Hey, where babies come from," and we can tell her the most politically correct way of how they come. She going to Google. So what we had to do is put something on her phone, put something on her Chromebook. Right. So then, as soon as she hits something, we know what's going on. So we know what's going on with her because we do those things to make sure we straighten. And our influence, like we want her to go to an HBCU. We hone that in on her. Society is saying you can go anywhere. We keep saying, hey, do what you want to do, but we want you to do HBCU. So now when people ask her, this is what she wants. So that's an example. You can't lose that influence. But, I mean, I'm a finite person. This ain't what happened in every household.
So, again, this is part of why I want to have this conversation, because this is generational, right? And for Ton and I, we grew up in a very defined way of how parents and kids should function in a house.
Facts.
Right? Clearly.
Kids were kids and parents were parents.
Correct. Clearly, that ain't there today. Right?
These kids smoke with their parents.
So what we're asking y'all is, because now you got people in our age range who don't understand the dynamic, right?
For sure.
So what can you tell us that can help us be more impactful and better able to connect? Because I think this is the part of the village for me that's personal, right? Because even growing up, every household didn't have somebody, right? But it was older cats in the community that, right? That's us now, right? So what can we do to be more impactful to your generation and the younger generation of kids who maybe didn't grow up with a dad?
Yeah. It's trying to be intentional with the baby steps to get what we want. Similar to what he said, like we all agree that you not being able to sit still and do your work and handle your business is going to hurt you when you're grown. But I know for a fact I can't get you straight to that understanding. I got to walk you in slowly till you get to that point. There's not enough people that care to walk these kids slowly to get there. Everyone's either mad that they're not there or too frustrated to try to lead them into that point. So we need more people to understand the job is to take the baby steps to get them to that point. And in order to get them to that point, you got to compromise certain stuff. I don't want them on their phone. Who knows what they could be doing on their phone in the classroom. But to compromise, how can I get the best of both? How can I get them to do this and still give them something? I got to take baby steps to it. And then when you're around kids at a certain point, these kids that I see all the time, yeah, we get there early, but I'll come in a certain day, be like, hey, yo, ain't no phones today. Like, what you mean? Nah, we ain't on the phones. We gotta handle it like this today. But nah, we always get our phone. Today ain't the day. And they'll be mad, but like he said before, I'm there. That relationship is there. Now I've earned the right to tell you this is exactly how it's going to go, and it's going to be like this or it ain't going to be like this. So I get your side of things because some of the kids will look at me like, bro, he's strict, he on everything. But I've taken baby steps to get to that point where like, all right, boom, no nonsense, let's get there. And that's why I work in middle school, because if you can start now by the time you're in high school, that's not a hard conversation.
So for us who are not in the schools, what does that look like in terms of how do you develop a relationship like that with a kid, taking baby steps, working with them? Because we're not in the school. We don't see them every day,
for sure.
Right? You do. So what would you all need from our generation that can help you help them?
You want to go first?
Please be patient with me.
Thank you. That's the thing,
I struggle with that. I struggle with the patience because my thing is if I tell you to move, I need you to move, no questions asked. But for whatever reason, this generation, my generation and younger, you have to. And my motto is I don't negotiate with terrorists. But what me say, you gotta compromise. I hate it that we have to. That hey, if you do this, then I'll do this. You know, and see, Tom,
it's hard for us.
It's hard
for us. But go ahead, keep going.
That's
keep
real
going.
Talk.
That's why you're in education and I'm in the prosecuting. Yeah, because I ain't doing that.
Yeah,
I ain't doing that.
But see,
not with no kids.
But
not
the thing about it is, like me said, the breach has been broken. So like, it's a lot of things we're gonna have to get back and repair. But in order to do that, there's a level of patience and meekness and like humility that have to show
Christian values.
Yeah, that have to show on a daily basis because I'm like, you haven't earned the right or the opportunity to do what you want to do. But I know the only way I'm gonna get you to buy into the program and the Kool-Aid I'm serving is to bow just a little bit and then get this. Now, Tom, you look at me like that, it's intimidating me, but it's just what it is.
But I'm gonna be honest, that approach is wrong for now. That is a wrong approach.
What's the wrong approach?
To be just that absolute in it, that's well,
here's
wrong.
the thing. That's not my grace. You have to recognize we all have a grace for what we do. My grace is not to be a school teacher. That's why I am not in academics.
But in this conversation, we're not talking about school. We just talking about as men.
He's talking about in the school system.
But beyond that, right? Are you talking about in general? They're saying there's a level of patience that we have to develop with these kids because the kids are starting at a point that's much further back than maybe how we grew up and all that kind of stuff.
You're talking about kids in the neighborhood or kids in your church?
All that.
Well, here's the thing. First of all, my first priority is to my kid in my home.
Correct.
That's the problem. The problem is we ain't parenting our own kids. And we so busy up there looking at kids somewhere else. My concern right now and my priority right now is my home.
As it should be.
And so hold on. But as I do that, I don't have a problem in reaching out to other kids to help mentor them and to help them get positioned for success. However, I am not an academician and I am definitely not a therapist. And so when you said I got to compromise when I'm doing programming that is free, that you ain't got to pay a dime for, that I'm offering your child opportunity and I'm giving them exposure, and I got to put up with behavior issues because that's just society, you go kick rocks. Because I got about 200 other kids that would take your slot gladly, would take your slot, and they would be the best kids. They would take advantage of that opportunity, because let me tell you something about survivors and thrivers. Survivors are those who will say, I just got to get through the moment. Thrivers are those that say, I'm in a place of opportunity. I will take advantage of the opportunity. So when we were doing these field trips and going to see the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and going to see the AG, whatever, those kids, the thrivers, were going up there and talking to them, taking photos with them, selfies, the whole nine, because they saw the moment. They understood the assignment. And they were like, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to position myself to be able to get to where they are, because that's where I see myself and beyond that. The survivors, they were like, oh, I'm just going to go play, I'm going to talk, I'm going to do whatever. And that's fine and everything. But you want to know the difference between a boss and an employee? There you go.
But see, that's a struggle, right? What you just said. That is a struggle.
That's what they talk about.
That we struggle with
all day, every day. They see
Because
the survivors.
The 45 that you said in your cohort, and like 2 wanted to be that. In the school that I serve at, which is pre-K through 8, we over 1,000 kids. You may have 50 to 75 that got that mentality. What am I to do with the other 975?
Where did they get it from?
They got it from home.
Home.
That's the point that I am making.
But
we all are making that time.
And I 100% agree with that. But in order to get that survivor to meet at least halfway where that thriver is I gotta, like, the boy that you said, or girl you said you kicked out, I would have been the one, if I was part of the program, you said he gone, I would immediately, hey man, look, why are you acting like this?
I did.
No, I'm saying, but you did it
multiple times.
But you didn't, because the way you are, you didn't just stay there, because you like you.
Nope.
I gave you opportunity.
Multiple times, there were multiple individuals that approached him, talked to him. His guardian came up there, tried to talk to him. He had a mindset of, I don't want to be here, and ain't nothing you could do about it.
Well, he got a reprobate mind. That ain't what we talking about.
That's different. That's not what we on.
But that's what y'all act like these kids don't exist, though. It ain't just.
We didn't say
what?
It ain't just the kids who are you got to compromise with to get them to modify their behavior. You're also dealing with kids who say, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. I'm going to do whatever I want to do, because guess what? I'm used to getting away with whatever I want to do, and I'm going to do what I want to do.
You mentioned 45 of those. You have no idea who were the patient ones before they got to you. There may have been many people in those kids' lives that did exactly what we're talking to that got to you. There's a lot of kids that we raising right now, horrible stories when we get them. But by the time they get to someone like you, oh, they're going to look like this, that, and the third, because someone took the time to respect the small wins instead of be mad about where they're not, because they didn't break themselves. Somebody else didn't show up. Now they're broken. Someone else exposed them to this. Now they're broken. They got a mom that yells at them when they get out the car, don't feed them, and now they in here angry because they're being told what to do. There's a reason for that. You didn't feed me, and then you yelled at me for something that you're mad at because you just got off work and you're frustrated, because we all know females get mad and they'll yell out of emotion. So now this kid got to deal with it. Then he walks into school, sit there, don't say nothing. You're not eating until about 1:30. Do the work. That makes absolutely no sense.
But we don't disagree. What I said is that's just not my grace.
And I get that. But as a man and as a believer, we are called to give people grace. We are called to be patient. And that is not up for discussion by the Father.
You are called to work in your purpose that God has given you.
No question. But
and so
you are called to have patience.
Oh, I have no problem with being patient. But what I don't have to do is deal with disobedient in a setting that calls for certain behavior modifications.
That we get. But
that's the point I'm making. That's the only point I'm making.
It's not just about that, because he said in general, it's not just about your cohort. Wherever you walk as a man, you need to be able to make that impact that we are talking about. Not just in the spot that you get these kids, because when you walk past a kid, whether it's in church and all that, that's when you need to wear some of that patience. And me as a basketball coach, when we get in between those lines, I ain't trying to hear none of that. This is how you need to move, or you sitting on the bench.
Question.
But we're talking about in general.
I have not walked in that.
Then you should have said that.
No.
Because that's what
that wasn't a question.
That was what he said.
Hold on. Because what you don't know is I was a children's pastor for many years. And I come from a mega church. And my church had hundreds of kids. I'm talking about 300, 400 kids in one session that I was responsible for on a weekly basis. And so I get 30 kids, 40 kids, but I'm dealing with thousands of kids on a monthly basis, thousands, and impacting them. Some of these kids still call me that are adults, and we still have mentorship relationships. So I get it, but still, there was a set rule, set organization, set behavior modification. And the whole thing of, I give you this so that you can do that. No, it wasn't that. These were the rules and these were the expectations. And these kids met those expectations.
When was that?
Few.
When was that?
This was like maybe 10 years ago.
Okay, cool. It's a very different generation right now.
But that's why I'm not doing it.
That generation didn't go through COVID.
But that's why I'm not doing it.
But that's why we're having this conversation in the barbershop, and we're almost out of time.
Yeah, but
right?
again, that's why I'm not doing it. Here's the thing. I'm glad that he can do that.
Yes.
Wonderful. But guess what? That ain't my calling.
It's not your calling to do his job.
No, it's
but
not.
What he's saying is, as a man, it is, and a believer, it is our calling to still find a way to connect with kids.
I don't
regardless
have a
of the road.
problem of connecting with kids, Kevin. Is how you go about doing it. That whole thing
hold on,
of me having to give you something
'Cause he might
in
be-
order for you. No, 'cause
he might be careful, but I think we're saying the same thing.
We are saying
That's
the same
different. What
it's how you
what
do.
he's
It's the
saying
means.
is-
It's your method.
Right. What I'm hearing is, this is a counselor. What I heard Anton say was, I'm gonna give you that grace, but when you hit that, when there's a disciplinary thing that needs to happen, you out. I'll still love you and do what I need to do and come and talk to you, but you just can't have a seat at this table anymore. And that, to me, that's fine.
Yeah.
We agree to that. And I think what Meech is saying, though, like you're saying, is that there's some kids, you have to meet them where they are.
Facts.
Right? And where they are is they may not be readily accepting or able to meet where you are talking about our kids need to be. There's a gap in this whole thing, right?
For sure.
And some kids need that walking process. Now, you heard compromise, and that just set you on fire.
It absolutely
It set you on fire.
Yeah, because that's all I
After
heard.
he said compromise,
I
you
shut
couldn't
down.
get past the show.
I
You
couldn't
was
get
done.
past it. I'm done.
But that's not what he's saying.
But that's what I heard.
But think of Jesus. He had to meet people where they were.
That's what I heard.
I know.
hear you,
You
Jesus.
heard compromise,
I heard you, Jesus.
and you lost your mind.
I heard you, Jesus.
And now we out of time.
That's what I heard.
Bring yourself back. But we got to go.
That's what I heard.
We got
Y'all
to go.
heard it too. Compromise.
Compromise.
That's what I heard.
You lost your mind. This was a great show today. This is the barbershop. This is what happened at the barbershop. Meech, thank you for being on our show, man. Last 2 times.
Please come back.
You welcome to come back anytime. You welcome to come back anytime.
Please come back.
Yeah, we had a
for sure.
great show. Listen, stay tuned for future crew shows on WHOV and on our podcast. We out of time. This is how we do in the barbershop, man. You gotta get yourself together, man. I'm telling you, man. Until next time.
Coming after me because of your
and be
church
a blessing to
folks.
someone.
Coming after me because of your church folks.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of The Crew Radio Show. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. We're always looking for great sponsors to support the show. If your company would like to reach our highly engaged audience, please drop us a line at thecrewradioshow757@gmail.com. Until next time, thank you for kicking it with the crew.